So you guys pretty much have a good understanding on what the IB indicator is and pretty much how I use it every day, or should do like an A through Z. I could just do a little run through for some people that are fairly new. So pretty much the IB indicator, it's orb slash the 30-minute range. Its initial bounce between the first 30 minutes of market open from the 9:30 high to the 10 a.m. low. So between the first 30 minutes, where was the highest point and where was the lowest point, and I typically look for fib retracements to the golden zone for a break of the opposing direction, depending on where gamma exposure is strongest towards. So first I want to go over, like, for some people that have already seen it, something I've been talking to the dev about is actually adding probabilities into the indicator, and this is like an example of it. So if we look at my trading view, imagine if with because we have an insane amount of back tested data with Skylit, like we pretty much have like all of the data like needed. Imagine if you were able to have probabilities on which side of the IB is gonna break and what's the percent of it, right? And for the session levels, previous day high, previous day low, imagine you were able to have all probabilities and knowing what's the highest probability setup on which side could break, and being able to know which fib retracement you should take getting on the right side of things, right? Because we could see for today, like looking back, this was the probabilities I had with something I was working on, is we had a 82% chance that the low was going to get broken before the high, and there was a 18% chance that the high was going to get broken. And we could see like we failed to break that IB high, right? And we actually had a NQ like double top up here, which is like, this is a trade I actually took. Like I took a short here, and having the probabilities help a lot. Like I ran through and I back tested, and it's been going insane. And like the dev is like in the works. Like I don't know how long it's gonna take. It might take a while, but having probabilities with all this stuff and like the statistical results would be like an insane edge. Because like if I go back, right, and if we look back, we have like these percents where today we had like there was a 5% chance that that previous day low was getting hit, and we you could have positioned yourself to play reversal, knowing the fact that if the probability of the previous day low was so low, it most likely wasn't going to get hit, and before then we could see a reversal happening. How are they calculated? Just it's just through like the back tested data and stuff, like what's happened before, and when you're looking over like 10 years, 20 years back, you could really put an edge in the probabilities and stuff. Right now, this is on Training View. Like if you have the IB indicator, I already pushed this update out for it, but soon enough it'll be on Atlas with better stats because I'm not using that much back tested data. Like I don't have access to like the insane amount of data that Skylit does. So once it gets added to Atlas, you'll have like insane probabilities with this with all the session levels too. Yeah, you guys have fibs on Atlas. After this, just DM me for the IB indicator, and I give it to everybody in Skylit. So I'm just gonna close Trading View here, and then I'm gonna kind of like I'm gonna run through it with some back testing on Skylit here, and like how I would read the maps with it. Is it simply price cross probability or IB? It's just like price getting to that level. That's the only indicator I use, like the IB indicator every day, which is reading the maps. I don't like to put much indicators on my chart because it becomes too much noise. You'll start to confuse yourself, and you'll start to get like, if you see like lines and stuff all over your screen, it does get confusing sometimes. So like I only use that with Atlas. Yeah, on Atlas you have the IB indicator, the session levels, and the dev pushed out a update. So if you turn the golden zone, you could actually put a the golden zone, the size and everything, and how you want the zone to be, and like all that stuff the dev added last night. And like it's gonna continue getting better and better as Skylight continues. Probabilities are stable and pretty much the same. No, they change every single day because the IB range is always different. It's calculated over like an algorithm where depending on how the range is, where the session levels are, like all of that's being factored. Like how big was the Asia session, how big was the London session, how big was the overnight, how big was the IB in the New York session. what's the probability of the break depending on the previous sessions. Like all of that's being quantified inside of the algorithm to predict the probabilities of all of it. So like soon enough when that gets like that's not going to be added probably for a maybe a couple days or maybe a week or two. But like all of that data being put in, you could have a nice edge on knowing um where it's going to break. That's my own algorithm that I implemented into the indicator, but it's gonna get added to Skylab pretty soon with way better results. So I'm just gonna run through some like back testing and like how I would be reading the maps like using the strat like and every single day. Will this golden zone be calculated with a? It would be depending on which side gets set first. Normally, whenever the low, like if you set the high first and then the low gets set second, then the low will get. There's a probability that the low is gonna get broken before the high, and that's why like we draw a bearish fib setup. About how Wix talked about. Yeah, I mark out levels like on the 1 hour time frame and stuff like that on my futures chart. So if anybody wants to just like throw in some random day, I'll go back and I could look at it. Someone said July 15th, and then I could do the 28th after. I'm gonna turn off just view up here, and just use the. Oh wait, these aren't synced, are they? There we go. And then just turn off view up here. Could you show how you do? Yeah, I'll show how I like draw it every single day. So this is July 15th. Like I'll go through the days in order. So typically like some people like to just wait for like the first 30 minutes to get set because that's when the IB actually gets set. So I'm just gonna stay specific to that and this strategy only, and really not paying attention much to node alignment and everything. So this is your 30 minute. So like off that statistical result that I was saying, so the high got set first, now the low. So I'm drawing a bearish fib setup, right? I'm looking for a break of the lows. So I'm gonna draw a bearish fib like this. Now this is where I start to use map alignment as well. I normally draw it on QQQ because I trade it on NQ, but you could also draw it on SPY and SPX. Sometimes the divergences are really nasty, and you don't really see much nice setups out of it, right? I don't know on trade deck if I can actually paper trade this. I don't think we can on backtesting yet. I don't think I could enter a 20. No, I can't. That'd be pretty cool if it does get implemented. Well, I'm drawing a bearish fib setup just because price is coming from below, right? So if price is being delivered from below, I'm looking for a deflection to go lower. So now like off of my node alignment, what I'm seeing here, right? I see a nice setup from a rejection of the golden zone of 722 all the way down to 715, right? Like this doesn't look bad. I like this. I like this setup. I like this risk to reward a lot. And on SPY we have the 756 is all the way up here, and we also have the 757, and then SPX does have a gatekeeper at 7580. So we do have a 2 node alignment with the gatekeeper on SPX and a potential gatekeeper on SPY with the QQQ King node. And we have targets to the downside here of first target on QQQ of 718, then 715, and you got the previous day low all the way down here. So you could leave runners to that previous day low, and on SPY, like on SPY and SPX, I normally play Qs all the time just because to me it just moves so much better. That might be biased just because I trade NQ, but where would you set stops and futures? So I normally set a 20-point stop. So that's typically like a 50-cent stop. But when it comes to options, it's different because you size for 0. So like if I'm playing the deflection, I'm going to probably play it. The most probable rejection would be the 618. So I like the 618. It's also aligned with a key level. I don't even know what level that. Oh, previous day high. Oh, this is like a this is like a very nice setup. Like most of the like 10 out of 10 times, like take this setup. Like I could probably guarantee, like not guarantee, but I bet this does hit. Like this, like when I see setups like this, I normally put some size on it, but like that's my own personal risk, just because to me it just looks like such a good setup. So that low gets hit. Now I'm gonna probably wait for like the 618. So like right here. And now look at the node alignment, right? They did move up the QQQ ceiling to 725, but if they roll it down to 722, you still have the SPX King node at 7580, right? And SPY still has the 755 positive. So I still like the risk to reward for the short here, only because of the factor that we are coming into the golden zone. QQQ is hitting the 618, and this is pretty much like a double top here on SPX, right? Like we have the sweep that could occur, that double top, and then we also have the king node deflection. So we got the maps seem pretty aligned here. So like I would be looking for a short off of this. And like it's the QQQ 722 is also growing, so it's a stealing roll down. So if that stealing rolls down, we could really see a nice move. You have a rug pull setup on SPX right here, and you also have 755 on SPY, which is gonna gatekeep the upside. So right here, you have basically 3 out of 3 node confluence in my opinion. This is kind of like an A plus setup. And then did they roll? They didn't even roll it down to the 725 here. They just rolled it down. So they rolled down to 722. When you see a ceiling rolling down, that's pretty much good confliction. You have that rug setup on SPX that it still could be in play here. So you still have more downside potential. Now, when the IB does break, the whole point of the IB strategy and the fib retracements is to get in at a better fill, right? So you got the 618 rejection with the previous day high. This is where I would be taking my first take profit. And I would have most of my position now looking for 718 and runners to 715 on QQQ, just because we also have this previous day low down here and we have a high liquidity level. And I could probably look for a mean reversion up to 715 here. How do you know if you should wait? Yeah, I would be using like other stuff as well, but like this is just specifically on Skylit. And you also got a, like I said, right, double top on SPX. This to me is like, this is my A plus setup. Like when I see something like this, I put some size on my trade. You have a double top on SPX, SPY. You have the failed break of the IB high, like up here. So to me, this looks very good. And when SPX and SPY actually start like dumping, QQQ is also gonna like move pretty nice. So Q's is already getting a better reaction, and that's mainly because SPY is like in kind of in these positives. But once we get below on SPX, we have a nasty rug, right? So I think we get like a flush. Probably take some profit to 718 here, and then we probably, well, SPY and SPX are bouncing the previous day high. I still think we go lower. I still think the previous day low gets hit because QQQ still has a 715 dragging price down as the king node. So like that could be your runner size. And there's your previous day. Or there's your QQQ 715. Now I'm going to expect an overshoot. Just like that. Oh my god, that's perfect. But like see how Q's move so much better than SPY and SPX? Like you did have that double top, and it still played out perfectly on SPY and SPX, but QQQ just was so much weaker, right? Like we got a insane move, and we already saw that 715 lit up, and then also they rolled down that king node at 722. So this gave me the ultimate confluence that we could see the flush. So now over here, right? I'm gonna expect a reversal, most likely just because to me that downside target on Q's was my last draw. So we took out this low on QQQ at 715. We could expect a reversal, but now looking at the maps, right, that's kind of my IB setup for the day. So that would be like my A plus asymmetrical IB setup. And now I wouldn't be trading the IBs anymore. It's gonna be purely off of Skylit because that was the IB setup. Once you get the break for one side, that's pretty much your setup gone. Now SPY and SPX, right? They still haven't seen much movement, and Q's have like an insane move. So we still have there's still a rug set up on SPY to go lower, and there still is the SPX 7515. Now, I never really see the market just like straight dump like this. So I'm gonna expect some sort of what we call like a relief bounce, right? So probably see a relief bounce here off of the 715 overshoot. We also did sweep major liquidity. So this is a double bottom sweep on QQQ with the previous day low. So you probably could look for a call scalp here just because we're sweeping all that liquidity from the previous day, right? Like on SPX, you have these wicking highs. What was previously resistance is going to become support. And same on SPY and SPX are the same way. So you got that. You probably see like a nice like bounce here. Yeah, you got a good bounce. You probably see like a good 30-50% off of that. Those orbs on Alice are so small. Yeah, I use glitches settings just because it gives me precision. I don't want it. I don't want the orbs like all over my charts, right? Like to me, this is the most cleanest. Now that we take calls from here once, yeah, like I'd be exiting. I'd be mostly out of my puts and exiting. So this played out very well actually. So wooden prop firm, multiple contracts on MNQ. It depends on your own sizing. I normally put it like 1 to 2 minis per trade. Like that's 10 to 20 contracts. And your trims depend realistically on how the maps look. It's so like to me it's so intuition based. Like there's so much times where I will have a better read on how the maps are looking and I'll just leave like I won't trim that heavy because I could see the reversal happening. Or the way I like to think when I play the maps is I trim wherever I see reversal or I exit whenever I see a reversal coming, right? I play the opposing side. If I was looking for longs, where would I long to? If I don't see any reason to exit my trade, then I don't exit it. I leave it to run. I trust the system and I leave that to run. So like that's the way I trade and it's what I found to work best for me. Now it does vary alongside with everyone else and how they trade as traders. If I had 10 cons, like I'd probably take off half size and just break even and leave it to run, or just move my stop and profit. So like you could take off 5 micros, or you could do like 3. I think it really depends because realistically on this trade on NQ, well, this was what? This is an insane drop. This is like 300 points, I think. Wait, 1 mini, that's around. I think that's 6K. Just with 1 mini on this trade. So you could imagine the amount of damage you could do with just 10 micros on this one trade. So that like 300 points times like 10, and then you have to multiply by however you size like that. Like this isn't still an insane trade. How much is the SPX drop? Well, it dropped $20. I don't really know the percents. I normally trade by points instead of like the dollar amount on NQ. So I don't look at how much the dollar amount is. I look at the amount of points it is. For evals, would you recommend? Yeah, for sure. The one thing about evals too is that you don't need to be in trades for this long. You only need to take a piece of your pie. Now with this setup, like I like the setup a lot, so I have multiple accounts and I have some funded accounts that have a big buffer. So if I saw a good setup like this, I would send like a good risk on it. Like not full port, but I would put like a good 3 minis on it. Just because the setup is good. And to me, whenever I see a good setup, I put some size into it. Because you don't see all those setups every day. To me, this was a plus setup right off the bat just because we had the golden zone, previous day high sweep, a double top on SPX and SPY, with also the king node here. You got the roll down on SPX and the roll down on QQQ, which gave me more conviction that we could see lower. And right here, we swept out both previous day. We swept out the previous day high on SPX and SPY and the previous day low on QQQ. So that's why I said we could see reversal here, because we also have these positives on SPX. But the only thing is, there is a rug pull set up on SPY, right? So there's still more downside potential in my eyes. And what I'm looking at now is, like, I'm looking at the other nodes, right? QQQ, if we lose 715, expect a huge, like, dump. 715 is like our do or die situation. We have resistance at 755 on SPY, and SPX is already delivered from its rug setup. And they're still forming the Pika stack. 7515, 7540 is still some downside nodes in SPX. SPY has a nasty rug setup with all these negatives to amplify more downside to 750, right? Yeah, everything in Skylight's recorded, and I'm also recording this to put on YouTube. I might restart my winning streak because this wouldn't count. If I ever traded this along in evals, I might have to restart my winning. Wait, what do you mean? This wouldn't count. So we got the bounce right here. You definitely want to be trimming into the 754 because you have this rug set up on SPY. We could. It seems like we're gonna chop around from the 715 to 754 here. These maps will probably reshuffle, or if something huge pops up to the downside. All right. Well, we still got the bounce from the 715 here. QQQ still has the 722 and 721. And let's see if these have been growing or not. Last 15 minutes, they grew 15%, 23%. That's not insane growth, but it's still something. The only thing is now on SPY, they are setting up a very strong rug pull setup. That's something I can't miss and I can't fade, because if this does play out, we could expect a huge move down. So this is the setup I'm looking at. We have this wicking high. We have a liquidity sweep there. We also have another liquidity sweep here. And we also have another liquidity sweep here. So we have these highs, these intermediate highs as liquidities areas. Wait for SPY to hit 755 and just short this back down. We probably see 7550 as these downsides are still growing. They're rolled down the ceiling on SPY. Nah, I wouldn't be short yet. Yeah, the QQQ upsides are still there, but look, they died, right? See how those nodes are gone now? So they are setting up a downside move now. I don't think the move happens yet. And because I still see the 755. I want at least a little more higher before I short it, because like look at this, right? You have, if we get the sweep of the QQQ right here, you played a liquidity sweep with the 718. You have the liquidity sweep with the rug setup over here at 755 on SPY. And then on SPX, they also are forming a potential. Oh, well, not really forming anything, right? SPX has these downside Barneys that are popping up. And the 7580 needs to like roll down. They might move it to 7540. They attempted to do it here. They attempted to roll down that ceiling to this floor. So they might try it again. Would you? Yeah, I would short. I would short again if we sweep out this liquidity. Please explain liquidity sweeps where you marked out why people take puts there enough to make it significant. It's just an area where their stops resting, right? So we're like, for me, for liquidity sweeps, we're the most obvious stop losses or area lows that are being drawn out. On QQQ, right up here, you got that wicking high, the wicking low down here. So these are the most important. And it's kind of just trying to predict where the stop losses are going to get hunted. The market's going to hunt the liquidity and ideally see a reversal. So at least give me a little higher. Yeah, I don't think we actually get up there. They rolled down the ceiling again on QQQ here too, or they didn't roll it down, but they put the 718. They're also setting up a reverse rug on Qs. It's kind of a weird map. You got these deposits trying to gatekeep the downside on SPX, and then you got a strong rug setup on SPY, but then QQQ is setting up a reverse rug. To be honest, I don't have a read here anymore. The play I wanted kind of faded off with these nodes reshuffling. I still think there's still the more of a downside move to come, but SPY would have to see the rug setup for me to play it. Yeah, well, you can see they shifted it down. The 750 grew, 7540. They put in this, what's it called, the 755 ceiling here on SPX. They're just gonna try to push price lower now. So now QQQ is also losing the QQQ is losing the 714. So we'll see a flush. We'll ideally see a flush here, and we could also say we're losing the previous day low. You get a nice flush down. So now like you'd be trimming into the 7540 because you can see they're trying to establish a king node. SPY's trying to establish a reverse rug, so they're trying to push price back up. We'll probably see a V-band reversal, is what I'm looking at, and QQQ's establishing the 710 with it seems to be a reverse rug growing. So you got 710 to watch out on QQQ for a bounce. Let me just remove all of these. SPY is setting up a Pika Cloud and a reverse rug. Like, it's going to be really hard to break this. So, yeah. Would you go? No, I wouldn't long here. I would wait for lower. Because SPY still has the reverse rug. I'll look to play it. Yeah, the IB30 is 30 minutes. I would wait a little lower and not try to long this yet. Because look at that. The SPX node just got fully ran through, right? And that could also be said because of the SPX downside Barneys and the SPY reverse rug setting up here. QQQ 712 also fade. Now let's see. Alright, this is probably your bounce here. So you got this reverse rug here on SPY. Like, I'd probably be fully out my position here because of this Pika Cloud that formed on SPY. You have a strong reverse rug on SPY. These downside Barneys lost value. Now you also do have 7515 here on SPX, but we know that SPY typically has like a lot of strength normally on its nodes and it holds. QQQ is setting up a reverse rug. If we get above 712, they send it back up to 716, and you have air pockets back up. They're trying to stop price at 707 and 708. So let's see if this reverse rug plays out on SPY here. You could probably look to play longs here off of the reverse rug on SPY. Because SPY is gonna try to catch price. It's gonna be very hard for SPY to break these downside positives. Oh my god, what is that candle? Alright, so you actually see, like, you see this in live time, right? So 710 on 712 on Qs, right? You see that 712, the 711 and 712 on Qs? As the reverse rug's playing out, they kill it, right? They killed the king node at 712, they moved it up to 716, and they're setting up the reverse rug on QQQ. So that's kind of what we were talking about before. Now SPX is now accumulating these upside positives, so we could look to trim into those. Then QQQ just still has negatives all the way up to 716. They're setting up a rug pull setup at 716. So QQQ could run to 716 now. We probably get a slow move up with the fact that SPX has this king node, but if we clear to 7540, we'll see more upside. Qs would definitely be the better play here. Like, QQQ will move better just because of the SPX stack that's forming here. We could probably see movement up to 716 now on QQQ, if I had to guess. Well, that's 715 on Qs. You also got 7550. They might try to push this a little lower here. We might see some resistance because they're setting up a rug pull setup on QQQ, and they're also setting up a They're setting up a rug on SPY again at 752 if this is overshoot. But this is kind of you gotta wait for 716 to get tapped. SPX now has upside Barneys. Yeah, what is this reversal? Yeah, now they're forming the Pika stack on Qs here. So like I would assume slow price action now. They're forming a Pika cloud reverse like on QQQ here, and they're probably gonna try to like they're gonna literally roundhouse this again. They're gonna try to short it back down, most likely from this Pika cloud. The only thing I don't like about Pika clouds and um or Pika stacks is that you don't know which node's gonna reverse, right? There's no telling that the 716 rug could play out or will find resistance to 717. And they're also setting up a rug setup on SPY again at 755. Did this play out in the morning? It did. So like now we could expect the market to probably hunt out liquidity in this range and then move higher. Now SPX map just looks so nasty. You got the 7560. Let's see. So this is a tap at a 7560 and the 716 on Qs. But SPY still has these upside targets of 755. I don't have like a good read here. I think we could see a reversal down, but these SPY being in this negative regime could just squeeze price higher. Yeah, my orb settings are glitches when it's in his channel. So SPY showing reverse rug and rug. Yeah, you could say that from the 752. That's what I'm saying. It's not really a clean read I have here. Because price could just squeeze through and then you got the reverse rug on SPX, right? So SPY's already playing the reverse rug. SPX is forming a reverse rug, but QQQ has a rug set up, right? So what I'm thinking is that I can't play like this is where you also have to use some technical analysis because some people, like I know for a fact some people are gonna try to short this, right? To me, yes, it does look like a good short setup, but yeah, it's 25%. To me, it does look like a short, like a good, or not a good short setup. I mean, it does look like a short setup in hindsight, but you can't short the reverse rugs. Glitch says it all the time, right? It's really hard to short reverse rugs, and that's why we don't really. That's why we kind of learn the patterns and we don't fade them. So, and then you can also see like the 755 here could still be a floor. We shouldn't short it. Yeah, even if there's one, because if the reverse rug plays out, then you get cooked. Because like, look, if this reverse rug here plays out, like this just flies straight through. See? And this is the power of reverse rugs. Now you do have a rug set up on SPY, which I think is what's gonna ultimately stop the upside. So that's what I'll be looking to play. This is the short I want. 718 on QQQ. 718 here. SPY, rug setup at 755. SPX, rug setup right here. This is your setup right here. Because this is where upside gets capped. 718 on Qs. 755 on SPY. 7575. This is your setup right here. This is what I would be looking for, and I'll be playing the deflection on. Just because this is the best asymmetrical setup I could see. No, I don't reuse the fibs. The IB setup already happened. I only like that's kind of the best time I used it. You could still draw a fib from the swing high to swing low, but how do you move all three charts? Go to your settings up here, and then click on your layout, and then down here the sync. All right, so right here we could expect SPY and SPX to squeeze through, like get a little more upside, and then I'll short it. So like instead of shorting it on a deflection, you could probably wait for SPY and SPX to hit the positives first. Like over here, I'd probably this is where I would enter shorts. At this point, would you wait for? Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I wouldn't try to short yet because I would want to see at least the divergence hitting. Because this is where I get my best risk to reward, right? Instead of shorting a QQQ 718, I'm just gonna wait for these positives to get hit. SPY ceiling roll down, right? Ceiling roll down from 756 up here to 755. SPX 7580 gatekeeping upside. Also, one thing to know, this is the IB highs, right? On SPX and SPY, there's a very low chance that the IB high gets broken, right? Like there's the probability so low for this high to get broken again. So I'm willing to take the risk, and I'll short Qs here. And like if you want to put it like on futures, this is literally my stop loss. Like I have no stop loss here. My stop loss is literally up here. We could probably take this back down to previous day low, and this would be the setup I'd be looking for on Qs. Just because we have the ceiling roll down on SPY, SPX has the king node gatekeeping the upside, and we know like we could almost predict that the IB high won't get hit. Yeah, we could look to take profit at the 717. Well, I'm looking at the node delivery. We already got the bounce there, but SPY is showing the SPY and SPX have a rug setup, right? So if these rugs play out, expect to squeeze through the 717. No, I wouldn't look for this is technically the node getting hit. Like we could consider this node getting hit, and I kind of know that, or like I mean I could be wrong, but my prediction here is that this node does not get tapped on SPX. SPY 755 is gonna gatekeep the upside, and this IB low is gonna hold its resistance. Hence why my stop's above it. Like if I want, I could just put my stop like a little more higher to give this trade a little more room. But like this is like a 20-point stop on NQ. Yeah, the IB high is the 30-minute high. It's basically the orb high and orb low. Yeah, it's basically orb. No, I wouldn't wait for that king node to get hit just because what's it called? It's too close to the IB high for me to play it. Alright, so we got the 755 deflection. 717 hits on Qs here. So this is my first take profit. I'm taking my first trim here. I'm gonna trim into strength at 717. And now my read right now is that we are in the rug pull setups for SPY and for SPX. You see how these negatives are very deep. And what do we know about negatives? Just like Wick says, they're very what's it called? They're very violent. So we could expect some nice price movement here. QQQ to 715 and then maybe a bounce, right? So let's see. Look at that. It's so clean. So now you get back to the previous day high on SPY. This is like the same this is like the same morning play now. Like didn't we get a bounce right here as well? It's like where we played like the first bounce in the morning. It's literally just rinse and repeat. So probably looking to exit some here. And then could leave runners to the previous day low. On SPY, they're setting up a reverse rug here. So 752, they're setting up another reverse rug into the close. They're putting the 7550 here on SPX. So you could probably literally look for another V-band reversal, believe it or not. Yo, Lerald.
Hey, what's going on? I just got back from lunch and just want to see what you're up to. So don't mean to interrupt.
Yo, good. So you only played IB Fizz for initial reversal moves. Yeah, for the opening, it's more of like when the IB range gets broken, I disregard it. Like I still look at the IB low and the IB high, but I disregard like the setup because if the fact that the low breaking like that first morning short was my setup. Why don't you think QQQ 717 was gonna reverse the move? Just because of the rug pull setups on SPX and SPY. That's why you have to use both of the maps, right? You had a rug setup on SPY, and you had a rug setup on SPX. So that's why I didn't care about the QQQ 717. Well, I didn't disregard it. I said trim, right? So that's why I said we could trim at the 717 on Qs because it could still hold price, but those rug pulls on SPX and SPY are really strong to the point where I would expect a squeeze through to 717. Just like not even a candle closure. A wick is enough to say that the IB has been broken. Yeah, I want to see if we get the reversal again. Like I want to see the if SPX gets to the 7550 here, and then they try to bounce it back up. It seems like this previous day highs are holding. SPY got another reverse rug, and SPX is a 7550. QQQ has the 715 here. You could probably play the deflection off the 715 and the 753 on SPY back up to 717 IQs. That's probably what you see. You probably see a bounce here. You have like this double bottom.
Hughes also added a peekaboo floor for that.
The 715. Or are you talking about the 716?
Right? I don't know which day we're looking at, but I think they strengthened that floor.
This is the 15th. This is in July. Why would you use this 715 as a floor? Well, because what's it called? The rug played out twice. And also like I'm using it in alignment with Spy, right? Spy does have the reverse rug, but we could see the what's it called? The 753 hold as a floor with the reverse rug. So that's why I can't short into reverse rug, right? Because if this reverse rug plays out on Spy, also the 7550 gatekeeping downside. To me, that's the risk to reward to short that doesn't really make much sense to me. Yeah, I think I would be all out of shorts probably at the 715 on Qs. I think we get a bounce here. Because it's already played out twice in my eyes. So it's weaker. It still exists, but to me it's weaker, right? Because no delivery, it happened on this pushdown, and then right here again. So like that, like this is kind of third test of the nodes, and like Spider they put in the 753, and they put in the 715 in here on Qs where we're getting that bounce. So I think they try to send us back up to 717 here. Yeah, they send us back to 717. Now we do have the 716 on Qs, and we also do have the 7565 on SPX here, so we could probably see a short back down here now off these two ceilings. Or maybe I was completely wrong. All right, guys, what's our mock bet here? What are we betting for MLC?
If that 716 keeps growing, downside. This'll nuke for almost.
Down? I think up. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, we should open a poll, right, guys? Nah, I'm playing. Yeah, we probably do see a down mock. The only thing is the QQQ 717. I mean the 716 here. I feel like we might bounce it.
I usually check to see how the positives develop for MOC because we usually don't get any new negatives nodes for MOC. We usually see positives, so you kind of want to see how the positives develop across all three.
Yo, we just got liquidated. Yeah, they what's it called? The 7570 grow a lot. This was at 45 mil, and then it grew up to 211 mil. It's like I mean this is where you'd also be watching the Trinity live. You can't really see this on replay mode. That was a pretty insane day, no guys? Probably caught like the whole like every single move. This usually toxic low pauses. Yeah. If you enter at the 1524 for long, what would you do at the 15th? Oh, well, I kind of skipped. I think you were talking about the long I was looking at from what was it? I think it was off of the reverse rugs on Spy and QQQ. Well, at least for me on futures, like I normally have my stop at break even or in profit. So if I get if that pullback stopped me out, then like I'd be out the trade. What kind of sorcery is this? This is literally just Skylit. What you read is pretty cool. I was able to follow gravy logic. That's good. I could do like 2 more days and then I'll do like a introduction to like volume profiles and TPO charts. Yeah. What day you guys want? Also, is my mic like cutting in and out? Cause I have like my setting out for it. Cause I know it's been doing that. Okay,
Nah,
that's
you're
good.
good. You're clear.
Do something. Do something in July or August. Not like all the way back to like June. That's like too far back.
Pick it random. Just random calendar picker. Doesn't matter if there was event news or not. Just
Nah,
play something
I want
random.
someone to pick. All right, someone. I saw 729 first. Wait, is that June or July? That's July. Wait, yo, I'm forgetting my months. That's July. Yeah, July 29th. All right, here we go. Oh my god, bro, what is it? What is this map? Oh wait, no, I can't. I don't think I can do this day. I think I remember it. Actually, a QQ 685. Was this the day before the dump off the 685 node? Maybe I'm tweaking. Yeah, this map these maps are already ugly off the bat. Like this, looking at this SPX map, we probably see like a pretty wacky price action today, if I had to assume. Spy right off the bat has a 742 ceiling, and then we have the 734 and 733. Spy's also in a lot of air pockets. Same with QQQ, right? So at least with Skylit, like identifying the maps, identifying where's our floors and where's our ceilings, we could say SPX has really nothing for me to base off of. We do have the 7300 node all the way down here. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was FOMC day. But we have 742 on Spy. QQQ's range is like 688 to 685. So like this is a pretty nasty range. SPX still has that 7300 node pointing down. So like I'm gonna let the first 30 minutes play and then see if we even get anything with the fib retracement. So once that IB high and IB low gets set. So like here's our low. So as of right now I see nothing, right? But what like for practice I'd be marking out like a bearish fib setup, wrong way, for a downside break. So I would have a bearish fib and this would be my golden zone up here. And then let me just move this over to the left a little. But on days like this, I don't have much node alignment, so I can't really look for a possible deflection, right? So we do have this previous day low down here. QQQ is developing this Pika stack at 688, and then 734, 733 is kind of like a nice floor on Spy, and then SPX just has like it's just nuke city to 7300. Yeah, when you draw the fib, if you're drawing a bearish fib, you want the 618 to be above the 50%, if that makes sense. So like I don't really have the direction memorized on which one goes first, but if I'm drawing a bearish fib, the deep retracements are going to be above the 50%, right? So we could expect a IB break for the lows, and we do have the six, like we have these positives to the downside. So like we look, like ideally what I'd be looking for here is like a golden zone retracement. So like right here, like we do get that. It seems like we got the 50% golden zone retracement, but there's no nodes that support my logic, right? So if this seems like it will play out, and we'll get the IB break of these lows, like right here, and then like I'd probably have like I would be taking profit there, and then having my runners down to the previous day low, but the nodes didn't really support that logic, right? But if we had nodes there, like I would take that short back down. So over here, like they still have this Pika stack growing on QQQ and on SPY. So we could probably see get the reverse rug on SPY at 734, 733. So we could play the 733 or like somewhere in here expect a bounce from SPY. And then 688, 667 over here, we could see some sort of bounce in this range, right? So we got that in play. See if they get a relief bounce here. Would you avoid trading days on like this when the IB for the IB part? Sometimes like I would still take that 50% short. Like if I don't see much alignment, like I still would take it. On some days, it depends on like maybe if you want to size down, like you still could do that, but at least for me, like I have a lot of prop firm accounts, so I would just send like one account on that trade. So right there, you lost your first thesis. You don't. No, me personally, I still would play it just because I've seen it play out many times before, and you still could consider the dark pools as the rejection on SPY and SPX with the QQQ 673. Oh my god. Any tips to see more cleaner if you didn't have Atlas, so you just draw the nodes? Yeah, you could draw the nodes on your own trading view chart, or you could put like a line. Like Jewel normally draws like a box to represent the nodes and the king nodes, and you could well overdo that. So yeah, nice bounce. Um, so over here, it seems like QQQ is losing the Pika stack now. So if this like pretty much the read I have is if this QQQ Pika stack doesn't hold, we could still see the more downside. But like SPY still has a reverse rug, right? SPX kind of really nothing to help us here just because there's nothing on the map. So we still have the reverse rug on SPY that we were talking about. So we could see the reverse rug off of 734 play out here. So I would say that this could be an overshoot of the Pika stack on Qs. The only thing is if we start to resist 688, we could probably expect another move down. So could probably see a bounce here now. Like QQQ just popped up that. If you notice the what's it called? They rolled up the 688 to 670, and they just rolled it back down. So you do get the bounce. I probably would be out at the 688 just because of what I just watched with how they moved down those king nodes, right? So like I probably would be. I think I'd be all out here, just because that this QQQ 688 is kind of it's worrisome for me. And then moving up to 670 now. Yeah, like SPY and SPX's map are just like completely useless here. They have the what's it called? The 736 growing like deep purple now, but like these maps are all over the place. This looks like chopped now. I don't see anything clean here. SPX got nothing. Spy just got all these positive nodes. QQQ has like air pockets down to 663 still. I don't really see anything clear. That 659 now is popping on QQQ. It's actually weird to see QQQ in like saying it's at like the 650s. And that's crazy. That's so low on QQQ. Yeah, you could consider it weaker, but I don't see anything I like on these maps. We do have the 659 now growing on Qs, and Spy has the 731, so we could probably look for a bounce there. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be any setups there. That relief bounce was like a nice scalpable setup I saw. See if we rug now down to 731 here on Spy. And 659 on Qs. Yeah, I guess the 663 reverse rug is going to play out. It doesn't help that SPX has nothing here though, and Spy's in a gamer like positive regime. But yeah, the reverse rug on QQQ just plays out. And like all these negatives is literally just squeezing Qs. Pretty sure this is like FOMC is at what, 2 o'clock? If I'm not mistaken, so if I remember correctly, like I think we all remember this day. Like I'll just skip through it now. Like because I'm pretty sure Qs just squeezes all the way up throughout FOMC, like we get like a insane candle here. Yeah. And then we all played the deflection at the highs. Yeah, it was up here, so I remember this. We all shorted this back down. This was like an insane short. Like this was the craziest power hour I think I've seen in a while. If you guys remember this, you guys remember it or not? This is the one that Glitch called out, like literally top tick. So you had this Pika stack on SPY, the 7550 on SPX, then you had the QQQ 670 or 680, and then they just like short this down. This ran 5,000%. I'm pretty sure. And then 7300 right there like popped up, and then that got hit at literally at the end. Yeah, this day was insane. Why short there? Well, you have three king node alignments at the time. You had 680, you had 742, and you also had SPX 7450, and these are like this was also like a double top here on SPX and SPY, and QQQ also a double top liquidity sweep. It was literally like our A plus setup. Like Glitch literally called it before he was like watched the double top here on Qs, SPY, and SPX, and it literally just ran. It's went like 5,000%. I TP'd out way too early. I sent like 5 minis on this trade, I think. Yeah, that's insane. Alright, I'm gonna open up a single chart here. I'm gonna go over kind of like a lot of people have been asking me about TPO charts and volume profiles. So like I'm gonna go a little into those and then probably close it here. I'll try to be like do classes like here and there often. And then like we could still run through back tests like later on when I have more time and stuff. Moving from options to futures prop firms, what would you say are some things that that a beginner would have to get used to mostly? You'd have to get used to daily loss limits, consistency rules, and your drawdown. And what drawdown type you have, if that's end of day or if that's it's either gonna be your end of day drawdown or intraday drawdown. Alright, so if you guys have Atlas, you could also do this on TradingView for some people that don't have Atlas. You have volume profile tool here. So this is your volume profile, and then I'm gonna briefly go over what we're looking at on our chart here, right? So some people have already know what a volume profile is, but this is kind of like a more of a beginner friendly tutorial. So you have your volume profile here on the right, and pretty much what this is it's a profile for the day. So the session from, I believe this is this calculated throughout the overnight? It might be. So you got three main components of the volume profile. You have your value area high, your value area low, and your POC. So what those stand for? Your value area high, it's the highest point where sellers found value and they looked to short. So where it was basically the best price determined for sellers to get into the market for them to short at that area or that level. Now, your value area low is vice versa. It's the best area where buyers found value and looked to long and get into a long position. And that was kind of like an area where buyers found they found value. That's why it's called value areas. So it's kind of the way I always like to explain volume profiles is at the value area high and the value area low, it's pretty much your discount premium. So at value area low, when you buy something, right, you want to buy it on discount. If Skylit was 50% off, wouldn't you wait to buy it at 50% off? So at the value area low, and anything below the value area low is considered discount. That's like your area where you're buying Skylit for a 50% discount or even lower. Then your value area high is where you'd be paying more. So you wouldn't be paying for a discount, you'd be paying more of a premium. So it would cost you more to buy at the value area high. So basically, the way we look at the value area high and the value area low is these could be areas where you look to long around or below the value area low, and you look to short above the value area high, because that's your discount and that's your premium zone determined by the volume accumulated within the session. And then your point of control is the midpoint. Is not the midpoint, but the place where the market found the most. Literally, that line, this red line, is where the market found the best value. So you don't really trade at the point of control because it's the area where the market found the best amount of value, and you don't know if buyers or sellers are in control at the POC. It's kind of like a magnet. At the POC is where the market has found value. So from the value area low to value area high, we can expect price to run to that POC. There still could be volume accumulated above the value area high. The value area high and the value area low is quantified through a equation of like standard deviation, if that makes sense. Do these get set at market open and change throughout the day? Yeah, they grow. So as the volume accumulates in the market, I could show it on my Deep Charts platform or actually I could show it on here on replay. I'm pretty sure now. Yeah, this changes. Never mind. So I'm pretty sure this is set from the overnight session profile, if I'm not mistaken. So I actually haven't played around with this. Oh wait, there's Delta too. Oh my god, there's a Delta profile too, and I didn't even know. Yeah, Delta profiles are nice. Fixed. So here, yeah, here's the daily range. All right. So a new one should open, right? Here, let me do this on QQQ. Yeah, he heard standard deviation. He spawned in. The Delta profile is basically it shows where if buyers or sellers had control at that level. I'm trying to figure out when the profile actually like appears. Because I haven't used it on like I've never really used it on TradingView or on did I just kill it? Where did it go? Yo, I just like despawned the profile. Oh, there we go. But yeah, so to sum it up, I'm not sure why this is like red. I'm pretty sure this is still working in progress. Yes, because this one shows the green and this shows the red, and all these just show complete red. So like I think the delta profile is still being worked on. It seems like I'm pretty sure that they got pushed pretty soon. So yeah, here's like your volume profiles, and the pretty much the blue area is considered your fair value, so your value area, and then anything outside of it is considered out of value. So anything below the value area low can be considered discount. Anything above the value area high could be considered premium. And there is this thing called acceptance and all the other stuff, which I'll go more in depth. It's kind of just like an intro to the volume profiles and to the TPO charts. So, like I said, your POC is kind of like it's like your magnet. It's where most of the volume is traded within the session. And you can see down over here, right? You had the value area low. We reclaimed back the value area low. And typically the market runs like from discount to premium and then premium to discount. So like you have your value area low. We got the move on QQQ back up to 714. And then over here in this range, like you'd be kind of looking to play deflection because this is considered discount. So you have you're in discount for shorts. Anything above the value area high and anything below the value area low is considered a good area to buy at. If that makes sense, it's like the best way to put it is it's your discount and premium areas. Below it is discount for buying, and then above it is discount for selling. After 25 minutes. Yeah, so these move around because the volume is being built throughout the market. Yeah, you could use them as support and resistance levels as well. And POC is normally your area where you don't want to trade at because you could expect chop, right? And we could see it. You see chop at the POC, and it's kind of like it's the middle of the range. So you would be expecting chop realistically. So that's like your main. It's kind of like the main concepts. You do have these things called the value or the low volume nodes and the high volume nodes. So low volume nodes are pretty much where we see a drop where there hasn't been much volume occurred. And these are kind of how I draw levels throughout the day. So you have what's called an LVN right here. And I'm just going to mark this out in a different color. And the reason I'm marking it out right here is because we can see on the volume profile, we went from high volume to low volume back to high volume. So this level right here, to me, is called a LVN. And the thing about LVNs is that, which is low volume nodes, you could expect the market to have like dips to be bought here and mean reversions to happen because at a low volume node, the market had no volume occur or low volume occurring at this level, which means when buyers and sellers got to this level, they immediately it's kind of like stepping on fire, right? They get like burnt really fast, so they want price to move very fast because they didn't find value at the low volume area. There wasn't a lot of volume accumulated here, so it's kind of like an area where I like to find mean reversions happening from. So as there's low volume still occurring here, we could actually see on the left, right? Well, this already played out, but this low volume node what could be an area or like a channel of support and resistance. What was resistance flipped to support and held throughout the day. And when you use these like over a high time period, so like this is an example on my other profile chart. I have TPO charts and volume profiles that are drawn out from like 60 days back. So like I'm looking like really far back to what the market's done on a higher time frame. And then I'm marking out like the low volume areas and areas where the market didn't spend much volume. And we could clearly see the areas where there's not much volume. This is the TPO chart, which I'll go over in a second. But we could see areas where the market hasn't had much volume. The reason for that has been because the like price action hasn't played much a role there. So we expect fast movements through low volume nodes, and high volume nodes is basically the opposite. It's where there was a lot of volume built, and it's kind of They could be support or resistance areas, but you do see a lot of chop in them. So I don't really trade them. So areas where prices had a lot of volume, you could consider like over here as a high volume node. And then you actually do see there is chop like in this zone. So that's why I like to find low volume nodes or areas where the market had almost no volume occurring, right? So like these could be levels that could have been used because there wasn't much volume for the day. And then this actually aligned with the value area high. So this wasn't a this is kind of like your zone here, right? Yeah, it changes as the market moves because there's new volume being put. So the volume profile is updating like every single candle. Like these levels aren't static; they move throughout the session. If that makes sense. So these are like your key concepts. You got your value area low, your value area high, your point of control, low volume nodes. I'll make a YouTube video just summing this all up and going more in depth about it. But this is kind of like an introduction. So like I'll have videos on like all these concepts with like actual examples and better explain. But this is kind of like the basic understanding. You got your low volume nodes, you got your value area low, your value area high, your point of control, and then when you start combining these together with nodes and price action, you could see some good setups throughout the day. Our real time data says yes, it's basically what the market's doing, and you're reacting off of what it's telling you. And now for the TPO chart. So the difference between the volume profile and the TPO chart is that the volume profile shows volume and the TPO chart shows time. So this is what it looks like here. And soon enough, these will. I don't know if you could change these to blocks. Um, like all these are still being worked on. So as it gets better and better, these are like TPO charts, and it's the same thing as volume profiles, but it's with time. So I value TPO charts more than volume profiles because you can't fake time. The volume could be faked in the market, and I've seen it happen multiple times where value area lows and value area highs get shifted just because some random big buyer or big seller enters the market, then that profile gets messed up. With TPO charts, you can't fake the time that the market spent in areas. What I'm looking at on this TPO chart is the value area low, the value area high of the market, and where did it find fair time basically instead of volume. So TPO chart, remember, is time. Now your value area low and your value area high is set the same range off of a standard deviation where was like not the lowest time, but at the value area low was where the market found still low value, so discount, and the value area high is also discount for selling. So, and then the POC is the it's the area where the market found or the market had the most amount of time spent for the day. So, like you could look back on the TPO charts and kind of see all these areas where the market has found a like low time and where the value area low and the value area high. And like I'll go over on how to mark it out because I mark out levels off of like the weekly here, right? So like I look back kind of like a week back or even 2 weeks back, and I mark out low time and low volume areas throughout this whole session. So like this is like on NQ because this is what I trade. You could also do this on like QQQ, which is what I'm looking at right now. Let me just turn off my flow setting real quick. There we go. So you got your TPO charts. This is showing from the day. You got your basically off the TPO chart. Your value area low is represented by the green lines and stuff. And then also your value area high. So your value area low is right here. I'm assuming where your value areas, which is gonna be where the text is actually highlighted, and the cutoffs is this value area low and this value area high. Would you say volume profile has less significance than VWAP? Yeah, you get more information off of the volume profile. VWAP is kind of a decision area. No, these letters don't matter. These letters don't matter. The letters don't matter at all. I pay no attention to it. Like I'm gonna have the dev fix it up to make it look nicer with blocks and stuff. But like these are just gonna keep getting improved better and better as it goes on. Now the key components to the TPO chart is still the value area low and the value area high, which is determined by time, and the POC, which is going to be the point of control, like I said, the area where the market spent the most amount of time. And then you have these red lines that says SP on them. These are called single prints. What single prints are is these are kind of like your bread and butter. It's the area where the market spent like no time at, like the littlest amount of time. So at single prints, we could expect mean reversions to occur because there was almost no time spent. When I teach AMT, you'll learn about auction market theory and how the market actually moves, and you'll begin to learn about okay, at single prints, the market spent so no amount of time, so it did not like to be there, right? It did not find value, and it didn't find any time there. So you could actually see there was a single print right here at 7:15. So there was a single print right here. It's faded away because it got tapped. When single prints get tapped, they lose their value. So actually, like there was a single print at 7:15, right? From the day before. This was from the 20th. If we look back at the 21st, right? This was kind of like a top tick. No? Later in the day. And if I open up my NQ chart and I show you guys, this also aligns with this double top that I played on NQ right here. So the market spent like no time up in this area, so it developed a single print, and then we also had this double top which played out pretty nicely. So that single print at 7:15 on QQQ played out pretty nicely with this range right here on NQ with the single prints. And yeah, it would just be a support and resistance. But like remember, I look back like towards the week to see what's been occurring. Because if you actually look, like I caught a crazy bottom tick on NQ off of these single prints back here, from where the market found no amount of time, right? So these single prints over here from August 4th, they played a role today. They gave me the lower down NQ over here, which is also represented on QQQ. So we took out these single prints from like 2 weeks ago and got a nice mean reversion from it. So they do play a role when looking back on a longer period of time, if that makes any sense. I know it's a lot, so I am gonna have like separate videos where I go more in depth about it, and then just like have one on just the volume profiles, one the TPO charts, stuff like that. So TPO charts, your key takeaways is gonna be the value area low, the value area high, the point of control, and the single prints. And you could expect reactions off of the value area low and the value area high, as these are areas where the market found buyers found control at the value area low and sellers found control at the value area high. And point of control is where they agreed. So this is the middle, and just like we learned with Skylit, trade the endpoints. So trade from value area low to point of control, or back to value area low, and then value area low to point of control back to value area high. And that's pretty much the market dynamics and how it moves every day. And when you look back to previous day value area lows and previous day value area highs, you could start to determine zones or levels of interest to trade every day. And that's pretty much how I get my levels. Over here, right, I had a resistance level marked out from previous value area lows over here, which are represented on the TPO chart. And it helped me top tick NQ just because I knew there was resistance here. And then aligned with Skylit King nodes, that's pretty much how I was able to catch those tops and those bottoms. Do you turn on TPO? Yeah, I have them. Well, I have them on a separate chart, and I have the dev. He's also working on that too, to have like a session chart where you could just have like these charts up on another profile and then mark it out. because I have them both up at the same time like this. Because think about it, when you have volume and time overlapping, you have a nice setup. Those volume profiles and TPOs are forming during the day. So I normally look back because I'm marking out levels from like days back. Like I had levels literally from like 2 weeks ago. Because I'm looking at the volume profiles on a higher time frame, right? And like we have a lot of look back data that we could look back to. So kind of seeing what happened when the market came back down here, right? I have to look left. What did the market do when we were down here? All right, it found support down here at 708 to like 710. What do we expect it to do? Find the same value again from 708 to 710. And then there's your 708 to 710 back bottom tick. And if you remember in chat, or if you remember in Oracle Index, Jack called this out. And that was the reason he called it out. He said we were going to bounce here on QQQ, and this was the main reason why we did. Because what was previously support back over here with the TPO and charts and the volume profiles played out again over here. And I'm pretty sure this was a double bottom. If I'm not mistaken, like if I go in the 1 hour time frame at NQ, that was a double bottom right here. Like off of these lows. And then all the way out here we had this low as well. Yeah, it's the same level. That's literally your bottom tick. Yeah, I got you. Heat seeking trading. I don't have for trading view. I never use TPO charts on it, but you could still use them. And then I don't use footprint charts at all. I find them to be a little too noisy. You guys got any other questions? Because I did say I was gonna run this until like 3 o'clock here. Double bottom instead on QQQ. Should we? I would chart on NQ personally instead of on QQQ because you missed the overnight session. No, because that's on deep charts. I'm only showing everything on Skylit. Yeah, I'm gonna make separate videos on like the volume profile on their own, and then on the TPO chart, and then all that, like etc. And hopefully, like the IB back testing also helped, like looking for those fib retracements. What does your screen look like? TPOs on. So I normally mark out my TPOs in the morning, then I'm done for the day. Like I don't look at them after that. I mark out my levels from the previous days, and then I don't look at the profiles. Yeah, you could run. I'm pretty sure you could run ETH settings for QQQ. Why do you think there appears to be three liquidity sweeps in like 5 candles? What do you mean? Oh, I trade futures on a platform called Deep Charts, but soon enough we're gonna have everything built into Skylit, so all my trades are gonna be executed on Skylit as well. And yeah, like everything's being built. You just gotta have time, you know. Rome wasn't built in a day. No, I don't watch. Like I normally mark my levels in the morning, and that's it. Like I don't look back at the profile charts. I mark previous like profiles, and then that's really it. So charting have more priorities over Trinity nodes. Um, well, we always say charts first and then Heatseeker. So like I still chart my levels, and then I look to play off of them with nodes, and that's kind of how I could pinpoint trades for me. Yeah, I would wait for all the alignment. Like the more alignment, I like to think of trading like building a puzzle. The more pieces to the puzzle, the more confidence that you have. Yeah, no problem. Oh no, you don't. You shouldn't need to be able to add me as a friend, but Just add me in chat. Nah, I didn't know order flow. I knew Skylight since February. I learned order flow like 2 or 3 months ago. I think back in like April. So I've been trading order flow for like 3 to 4 months now. You label them when you chart, or you just treat them as support. Um, so it depends what price is. If price is coming from above, I put it as support. If we're coming from above, back down, I'm marking it as support, and if we're coming up, I mark it as resistance. So I just color it green and red. Yeah, if I have multiple like confluences stacked where like value area low is like a double bottom, like I have a lot of conviction on that setup typically. The more pieces, the better for the puzzle to be built. I could paint a better picture with that. Yeah, no problem. Soon enough, we'll have the best future traders. Watch a YouTube video. Put up what ICT concepts do you add? The only ICT concepts I use is session levels. So like the London high, the Asia highs, like the ICT kill zones. That's like the only ICT concepts I use. Fair value gaps, they're like I don't use fair value gaps. I don't use order blocks. By the time you're waiting for a fair value gap to form, or you're waiting for a closure, the move's already happening. So that's the reason I don't use it. Why not get in before that fair value gap forms? You know, you can definitely get a way better fill. How much of a buffer for a entry if someone keeps missing entries by a 2 or 6? What do you mean? Like how much of a buffer? Like how much of a stop, or like a buffer on that eval or funded? How many ticks? It really depends. Like normally when I trade like on NQ, I like to keep a generic 20 point stop depending on how much I like the setup. Like there's some times where I'll have a lower stop or like a tighter stop. On Weeble, I mean they're all gonna be similar. You can still use it on Weeble. Now 20 point stop is $400. Now I look for 1 to 3 on every trade. I'm looking for at least more than 60 points. Keep constantly miss entries, but I've been trying to get entered earlier by a few ticks. Um, I think it very much depends. Like when I'm taking entries using Skylit, like I'm taking it on the node deflection, and then I'm running like a 20 point stop because that's 50. That's 0.50 on QQQ, so it saves me from any sort of overshoot. If we overshoot more than 20 points, I consider the trade invalidated. Unless we reconfirm it, and then I'll like retake that entry. Well, I'm gonna get off here, guys. So my DMs are always open. Just let me know if you have any questions. This is also already recorded through Skylit, but I'll also upload it on YouTube. And I'm gonna get that trade recap up now. Yeah, for sure. Enjoy, guys. Enjoy the weekend.